Hello everyone, welcome back to another quick video, and today I just want to show you guys, just based off of statistical data that we have and the logic that we use in presidential elections, why Trump is overwhelmingly favored to win this election cycle. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and make sure to go ahead and drop a comment down below. And so as of right now, we see Donald Trump is ahead by 2 percentage points on the national level. He's ahead in Arizona by 4 outside the traditional margin of error, which is 3.5%. Georgia, he's outside the margin of error. Nevada, he's outside the margin of error as of right now, including a North Carolina. So if you were to draw up basically a simple electoral map, he basically holds everything he got in 2020, which includes Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Texas, considering those states all voted for him 2 times. Now, California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Illinois, DC, all these states have now voted for him, including New York, as well as Maine at large as well. And we see Hawaii hasn't voted for him. He would hold Alaska. And so essentially, this is kind of like a basic battleground map. My battleground map is a little bit more expanded than this. Theoretically, New York in a rating categorization would be lean Democrat because it's, within 15 or within 10 points essentially. But this is like a basic electoral map for this cycle. So let's say, this is all the polling in the Sunbelt states have him outside the margin of error. He's also outside the margin of error in New Mexico. At least Biden is. Biden's polling ahead of the margin of error there, including in New Hampshire as well. He's also polling outside the margin of error in New Hampshire. That's about it. In Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, he's actually polling within the margin of error in these states. Even in Pennsylvania, what's actually quite interesting is that if you go to the 5-way race, Trump is actually polling almost outside the typical margin of error, which is actually insane to even think about, that he's almost outside the margin of error in Pennsylvania. That would be a very impressive lead. This is already an impressive lead. Biden was ahead by 4 on this day 4 years ago, and 8 years ago Clinton was also ahead by 4. But the aggregate, Biden led. I think the aggregate was actually spot on in 2020, but in June, in 2016, Clinton led it by like about 2 or 3 more points than what the actual victory was. And considering Biden is way less popular this time, I have a feeling that the polling error may be a lot bigger. You may see a 3-point polling error, or at least a minimum of 2 points in favor of Trump. You're going to probably see him win it by over 5 points. My state categorization is actually like a 9.5-point victory in Pennsylvania, which would be pretty crazy. But just off the polling data alone, Trump already gets to 268. And Nebraska, what's also quite interesting is that theoretically, if you actually really took this at face value, Maine at large would theoretically be in Trump's column here, because he is technically polling outside the margin of error in Maine at large. Because if you actually look at the polling data, the latest poll there is a +6 poll, and after that Trump leads by 2 in the John Zogby poll. And so if you were to aggregate that, it would actually be above 3.5 percentage points. So he theoretically leads outside the margin of error in Maine at large as well. And that doesn't even include Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. And if we were to actually go ahead and fill all these out for Donald Trump, he is not that far off from my current projection. The only 2 states that would be missing are New Mexico and New Hampshire. And in Minnesota, I'm talking about Biden's polling ahead by like literally a tilt margin. It's super duper close. Same thing in Virginia. They're essentially like neck and neck tied. Like Biden leads more in Minnesota, according to Decision Desk HQ, than even Virginia. And so Trump at this point literally just has to pick off one state, basically, in hypothetical, if he's not winning Maine at large, he can literally pick off Virginia and win the race. He could pick off Virginia and win the race. He could pick off Minnesota and win the race. He could pick off Wisconsin and also win the presidential election. He could pick off Michigan and win. He could pick off Pennsylvania. And what's actually quite funny about Pennsylvania is that he doesn't even need Arizona and Nevada in that scenario. He could literally just get Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania and just cross over. But now let's go over some like crazy scenario. What if let's go over this, because theoretically New Jersey's under 5. Well, we're going to basically exclude New Mexico out of this since the polling is outside, well outside out of 5 points. But let's say, we're here, right? Let's say, and New York's polling, if you were to do an aggregate, it would technically be below 10, including Illinois and Colorado. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this is kind of an expanded battleground map. If Trump were to go out there and win North Carolina and get New York, he doesn't even need the Rust Belt anymore. He could literally pick off Maine at large and New Hampshire and a Nebraska second and literally get the Electoral College. Because if he's winning New York, I'd actually expect him to probably flip Maine at large. I would be very surprised if he were to theoretically pick off New York and not win Maine at large. Or if he gets Georgia in New York, he could literally just win the election that way. He also wins it with Pennsylvania. He could win it with Michigan and Nevada. Now, let's say some crazy upset happens in New Jersey. That puts him even closer because he could literally just win New Hampshire and Nebraska second and just pick off the election that way as well. He could also lose Georgia. Let's say he loses Georgia, but picks up like a Virginia and Pennsylvania. He's right there. He could win with a New Hampshire. He could win with a Nevada, which is polling outside the margin of error. He could also win with a Arizona, combination with Maine at large in New Hampshire. He could also pull it off with that. There are multiple paths. He could even win with Nebraska second and New Hampshire. There are many paths for him to theoretically win this. Now, the craziest path would be for him to win Illinois and New York. That would be like an insane electoral map, or at least he picks up like Illinois and New Jersey, which is actually still not enough. He'd have to win Maine at large or at least win Nevada. But I mean, if he's winning Illinois and New Jersey, I'd probably have him flipping Nevada and Georgia automatically. So in this scenario, he probably wouldn't even need Illinois. He could just win with Nevada, Georgia, and New Jersey. But there are many states that could theoretically get him over the top. There are many places. A New Jersey path would be interesting because it would be very minimalistic. He could win with New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maine at large. He could win with Virginia, Nevada, and go out there and win, like, I don't know, Michigan and pull it off. He could even win with Virginia, Nevada, and New Jersey and pull it off. There are many scenarios where he could theoretically win this, and there's a bunch of states where he's polling, within at least 7 to 8 points. So his path to the Electoral College is a lot easier, compared to last time. And as of right now, if I kind of had to have a gun pointed to my head and say, okay, where do you think everything is going? This is probably what I would say. However, I'd actually maybe even lean Minnesota in Trump's column. That's how unpopular Biden is. I'd probably actually bet on Minnesota actually flipping Republican. That is how bad the Biden administration is in terms of their approval rating. Their approval rating is minus 16%, guys. This is not common for an incumbent president to be a couple months out and be this low. You see, every other president was higher than this. Even Trump was. Even Jimmy Carter was not polling this low at this time of his presidency before the election. So it is not a great look for Biden to be that low. My current model forecast actually has Trump winning the election way bigger. He actually wins at 347 to 191. We're going to see if that holds up. But my personal prediction, with third-party candidates included, would be Trump probably getting all the swing states, picking up Nevada, and getting Minnesota as well. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if he were to pick up like a New Hampshire or something like that, or even get a Virginia in the scenario. I actually wouldn't even be surprised, or even New Mexico, considering that there's huge Hispanic trends going on. Like, I wouldn't even be surprised if he picks off another state or two on here. And so, as of right now, my actual forecast has it here, but I kind of wanted to do just a little video explaining why the logic and the statistical data points to Trump basically having a very straightforward path to the presidency. It is not that hard for him to necessarily even get there. I mean, with current polling, he's already there. He's already there. These states left in blank are all the states that basically are within the margin of error in the polling. Every other state, the lead for either candidate is greater than 3.5, and Trump's actually already at 270 electoral college votes, and that's with the polling averages, not just the individual latest poll. With all the polling averages combined, Trump is actually ahead by quite a decent amount. He's actually up 270, not even with the Rust Belt or even Virginia or Nebraska second. And so if you guys did enjoy this quick analysis, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to go ahead and follow Twitter and join the Discord server in the description down below. And I will see you guys very, very soon.